Yeah, this is Cuckoo. I'm at Superbooth 2018, and I'm at Bastl's booth again because one family member of Bastl is Peter Edwards.
Hello.
Peter Edwards is making some really gnarly electronics, and you're making kind of your first modular.
I'm making my first modules.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super awesome. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really excited to finally be getting in there. I think I put it off because I was scared that it was gonna take over my brain.
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah. I'm going with it. So it's cool.
So what do you got here?
What I've got is I'm starting from the mixer. So I perform on a mixer. I do a lot of overdrive and a lot of feedback. And I've been playing modular with a mixer for a long time. And Bastl, the other engineer at Bastl, was kind of challenged me. He's like, hey, try this in modular, see if you can do it. And I was like, all right. And 8 months later, I've got a couple of these modules. So today I'm showing a couple. These are all prototypes, but they're they're getting wrapped up. And I have the party mix. This is sort of a drum performance mixer. And the party follower, which is an envelope follower. I'll get into this a bit more. But then the main attraction here is the dark matter feedback module. So this is basically taking, for anybody who's familiar with sort of no input mixing, it's this practice of taking the output of your mixer, feeding it back in, and then using the EQ and the gains to turn your mixer into a synth, basically. And what I really like about it is that you're making the mixer do what it can't do. So it sort of has to make decisions. What am I going to do when he's asking me to do more than I can do? And you get a lot of signals breaking down. You get a lot of the circuits kind of fighting to survive. And then you get sort of the sound of electronics. That's what I like to think. It's
cool.
Not what I want. It's sort of what the electronics can do. And it happens to be pretty rad. So, I've taken a lot of the features that you'll find in a mixer and then brought them, they've been sort of adapted into the modular realm. So, of course, you have tons of CVs. And then what I'm really into doing is having this whole fader section so you can really expressively get in there and cut things in and out and sort of jump around. I like the idea of being able to make something really explosive in a dark room filled with smoke, and you need to be able to just get in there and move and make things happen really fast. So I really favor this, the big slider approach. So that's sort of a theme that's going to be running through all these modules. And this goes hand in hand with the mixer here. So this is a pretty conventional sort of mixer setup. You've got your 4-ins. You can chain them together, of course, so you could have an 8-channel, 12-channel mix. And then you've got your 2 outs. So you have your main mix and your sub mix and your volumes. And then you've got CVs for everything. It's non-clicking gate inputs. So you've got a slew or a direct unslewed CV. So I'm jumping around a bit, but I really like the idea of playing your mixer with gates. So you're not just giving it a bunch of sine waves. You're programming different rhythmic gates, and you're using that to turn your signals on and off. So there was kind of a lot of hoops I jumped through to make this so that it just sounds great. The gates bring it in. It's not too lagged, but you avoid those clicks. And then you've got this whole mute section where I'm able to turn my channels on and off. I've got a momentary section, the mom button, so I can momentarily mute or I can momentarily activate. Let's momentarily activate my signals. And once you get into this domain, so this is sort of a digital controller for an analog system. And once you get into that world, the expander possibilities just go on and on and on. And as an inventor, I like making inventions that inspire me to make more inventions. I almost don't want it to be done, so I really like this approach because it's a mixer. It's fundamental, it's simple, but it's got this whole area that I can really dig into and keep developing for. But the idea, sort of the not very revolutionary philosophy behind this, is this idea that your mixer's at the center of your unit. This is where you're processing everything, and you have this second output, which means you can take aspects of that sound. So let's see if I can get an example of this here. So I'm going to have my drum beat going, and I can take sort of the behavior of my hi-hat in this case and use that. Let's see if this is working right. And I can use that, or I can just use my kick drum. Or correct, my hi-hat. And so you can sort of play with like the behavior of your grader system. In this case, it's not that radical, but there's a lot of ways that I want to be playing with this idea more and more, that you have your macro system becomes a sort of combined signal that you can then start pulling sort of system behaviors out of. So everything kind of works together. And this is sort of a theme, is sort of like guided serendipity, where you happen into something that works, even though you haven't said, I'm going to make it work this way. But the signals are all related, so it does kind of work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, envelope followers, a lot of this is another thing that I won't get into here, but it's an analog to digital converter, so it's another way of transforming complex signals into other kinds of signals. CVs into gates, and anyway, I'll leave that one where it is. But in any case, so we've got our mix here, which is feeding into our feedback module. And what you have then, you fade between the clean and the wet signal. And you've got an EQ, so I can do my treble and my bass. And then you send the signal back into itself. So, and it ends up sort of filling in all the space around the sound. And it ends up being sort of related to that original sound as well. And let's turn that envelope follower off. So now we're just listening to the sound. So, we go from this sort of, let's see. Let's do this. All right. So you go from this sort of boring drum beat to this like really full, crazy sound.
Excellent.
And yeah, so it's like, on one level, this is just the drum beat explosion machine. But then, of course, you can be running audio signals into any of your CVs and process different kinds of signals. So we also have this. So this is a tonal signal that's coming in, and you can hear it's doing this sort of wave shaping and sub-octave stuff. So there's a lot of ways that you can use this, because it's just feedback. I'm not doing anything especially clever. I'm just sort of trying to harness and tame this effect, and then also kind of train people how to use it a little bit. So there's like a lighting system that shows you, like, if you're getting too much squealing feedback, the light's like, hey, maybe think about that. You don't have to change it, but if you want to not make squealing sounds, I'm going to remind you.
Wow, that's really neat. But to me, it sounds like it's really struggling. But is in fact the electronics, will it wear out?
No.
It sounds like it. Oh my God, I'm doing my best here, but I'm gonna die soon.
Which is what I like. I like that sound, that it's it's dragging itself along, just trying to survive. But it's still within the region of like safe operation, but not within the region of like intended ideal operation.
Yeah.
So I'm not blasting it with anything unreasonable, but I am pushing it to the outer regions of what it's designed to do.
Well, really cool.
So, and then
there's some high energy stuff.
There's a lot of high energy, and I think that's a lot of what it does, is it increases the energy density, if you want to put it that way. But then it does this other thing that I really like a lot. So now what I'm doing is I'm running an external feedback loop, so you have an output of your feedback signal, and then I'm running it through an echo and back in. So in this case, but then another thing that this does is it allows you to start, like, the signals can fight. So now you can hear whenever the kick comes in, it sort of kills the echo. Yeah. And it wins, basically. And, I think this sounds... And this is, again, using the envelope follower from the mixer, or I can change it so it's just from the kick. Okay. So just to do a quick run over. So what you've got your audio input. Let's turn this down a little bit. You got your audio input. Then you've got CV for the audio input. So you can, and it's got a clipping circuit on it, so you can do wave shaping there. Then you've got this envelope follower. And this is, I'll get back to that. It listens to the sound and you can analyze it in different ways. And you got an output for that. You got your main mix output, you got your feedback output and your feedback in, and then you got 5 CV ins. So basically all your faders are CVable. So you've got your input, your EQ, low and high, your feedback mount, and your crossfade. And what I really like, and this actually, I designed this, it was done, and then I was like, I need to redo it completely because I need to be able to tame it a little bit more. So it's not always just, you know, this. I personally like this. I like the endless intensity, but that's, you know, I'm making a tool, not just something just for myself. And I think it's nice for people to be able to kind of choose what to bring in and what to not, and, you know, tame it a bit. So in any case, what I'm getting at is this: the crossfader gives you a lot of it. It lets you fade in between your crazy and not so crazy signal. And so what I've done here is I've got this envelope follower, which whenever the kick goes, I'm applying that to the crossfade amount. So it's like pulling out the feedback, or I can go the other way. So whenever the kick goes, it brings in that wet signal.
X-fade CV.
What's that?
X-fade CV.
Right, crossfade CV. And that just means that, like, with this knob, you're just turning up the intensity of your drum beat without making everything totally bonkers crazy. And then you've got that as well on your feedback mount. And then, yeah, there's some other features, but those are sort of the main things. And then what I was saying, I guess I'll touch on this really briefly. So you've got the envelope follower section that you can have listen to just low, or so now it's going to respond to, let's go to something more tame. It's going to respond just to the kick, or I can have all. So now it's going to respond to like everything. So it's the hi-hats as well. Outputs that envelope, and then you can use that to control the various balances and aspects of your signal. So a lot of this is really, I mean, it's definitely catering to drums, you know, to rhythmic things. So you've got the real wild with the real structured. And I think, you know, that balance is pretty neat.
Yeah, super sweet. So are these coming out almost the same time? No, one is almost done.
The Dark Matter's almost done. The Party Mix is in development, but I'm really going to try to bring them together because they're you know, siblings. They're really meant to work together. Yeah. So, you know, and we're going to be sort of incentivizing in some way, you know, with design and pricing and all that to kind of say these go together. But, you know, you have options as a modular shop.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is a complete packet. But yes, this we're really aiming end of the summer. The rest, you know, before Christmas. But don't quote me. But, you know, this is because development is crazy and things go wrong. But that's really the goal. This is my main job right now, is making sure this gets out into the world. So
cool.
Yeah,
I think it's high energy stuff. Clearly meant to live. It's got a little life of its own.
Yes, I want it to live. I want it to get out there and see what people do with it. So.
Cool. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah. Did you mention the price?
No, and I'm not going to.
No, it's not. You know, no official pricing yet.
It'll be in keeping with Bastl modules in general. So we're not looking to revolutionize the pricing. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the same price as other stuff.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.